Councillor Chris Evans, please.
Hi. Supplementary on this one is there's recently been a High Court decision in the Cardiff High Court, Thomas versus Cheltenham District Council. It's since also been upheld by the Court of Appeal. The decision in that High Court's case directly contradicts the Welsh Government's planning guidance. So we're in a position whereby either we can follow the High Court or we can continue to follow the Welsh Government guidance. If we follow the Welsh Government guidance, that's going to open up illegal liability for the council that could run into hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds. So what are we doing to minimise this liability, or to shift it back to Welsh Government, who still haven't changed their fraud guidance?
Like most other planning policy, I take that point first if I can. Like every other planning policy, we take advice from Welsh Government, and that advice has stayed strong and stays until further evidence comes to light. And if Councillor Chris Evans has got any evidence he can submit to a planning office, then please do so. But until Welsh Government or National Government change its stance and give us better other advice, we can only give planning guidance on that advice.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Well, a lot of information relating to Mars, etc., refers to something called ICNIRP. ICNIRP is the International Commission for Non-Ionising Radiation Protection. It sounds very impressive, doesn't it? International Commission. It's not a public body. It's a private club composed of members of the telecommunications industry. So their guidance is looking at what the telecommunications industry wants and not the health of the public. Now, a specific question is perhaps a little unfair because it relates to information that came into the public domain as recently as last Friday. So I accept that Swansea Council and officers have had little time to consider the full implications of this latest information. In summary, the World Health Organization has determined, following a systematic analysis of 52 studies, that radio frequency electromagnetic fields emitted by cell phones and other wireless devices were linked to an increased risk of malignant gliomas in the brain and malignant nerve tumours in the heart in studies on animals. The review noted that both tumour types had previously been found in studies on humans. Moreover, there is moderate certainty that cell phone radiation exposure causes an increased risk of rare liver and adrenal gland tumours. As a result, the International Commission on the Biological Effects of Electromagnetic Fields now called for immediate policy action to protect people from possible harm from wireless radiation exposure. I emphasise the words International Commission. That's exactly what ICNIRP is. But for reasons we don't quite understand, the Welsh Government, Public Health England, Swansea City Council all want to believe the International Commission of Non-Ionising Radiation Protection rather than any other body. So the question I'm asking now is, what steps will Swansea City Council be taking in the light of this recently released information?
What I will do is repeat the advice again now. I'm sure the Welsh Government, if they are given that advice and take that and look at that, then obviously if the advice changes us, we will change our planning policy. Until such time as National Government and Welsh Government give different advice, we can only give planning policy on these issues with advice from Welsh Government. And I'm sure your knowledge of this is far greater than mine, I must admit, but I'm sure if you have got any information, as I've said to Councillor Evans, please we send that on to our planning officers and they can take it through the appropriate bodies.
Councillor Jones.
Great. Thank you, Presiding Member. Yeah, I'd like to thank the Cabinet Member for his response. However, there is real concern by residents in Swansea about the possible risk to health, and real concern, and I think we need to address those. and to say, you know, that you know, obviously the Welsh Government is saying one thing, and the UK Government, we need to go that extra mile. I think this is backed up by the World Health Organization, who on the 25th of April said that after a systematic review analysis of 52 studies, that there is moderate certainty that there is that increased risk to health. In view of this, I'd like to suggest a pause and recommend to Welsh Government that there is a pause so that these issues can be looked at seriously. And that would be my proposal. So, and I hope you'll take it on board and speak to your colleagues and friends in Welsh Government. Thank you.
One thing I can't give any commitment on a pause at this particular time. All I can say is once that information is amended, once that policy is changed, we will take due regard to that policy. But I cannot at this point give any commitment on suspending or deferring any decisions.